What's up, world? Carl Shepard here, checking in for episode 30 of my Sober October Video Diary Challenge 2019. Oh man, it's hard to believe that this is episode 30. It's went by pretty quick, I'd have to say. I know that it didn't seem like that at one point, but you know what? Killing it. It might feel a little weird not doing this after it's all said and done. I'm definitely going to keep pushing through until November 3rd. Uh, just because I've spoken so much about this competition, it's become a really big part of my universe right now, and it just seems like a natural conclusion to this project. If I was to drop off the map right on the first, it just wouldn't seem right. Plus, I still haven't decided yet how the very last episode's gonna go, and I definitely am not gonna do anything outside of my discipline, my very strong discipline that I've been crafting over this last month until at least after the competition. So, November 3rd is my expected cutoff date for this project. I'll make my YouTube channel, all these into one playlist, and I'm then going to start pushing towards the podcast situation. And taking some time off and doing maybe some other cool project in the physical world. I have a art project that's in the works that I want to give to my jiu-jitsu gym as a thank you. I really hope that turns out well because I've told a couple people about it already. So I weighed in today in my gi and everything. Tonight, actually, right before dinner, I had a pretty big dinner. Before dinner, though, I've had a big eating day all day, and I was 206 point, what was it? I was 206 and a half, something like that. And that made me feel real good. I went ahead and ate a big dinner, so I'm a little probably over right now, but right on target. Right on target, no problem whatsoever. That fast helped out tremendously. I really reaffirmed how important fasting is to me, and I am never going to leave that out of my routine. I am going to dedicate myself to at least one 24-hour fast per month for the duration, for as long as I can keep it up, you know. And that's not necessarily a sticking point if it's 45 days one time and twice in a week another time, like whatever. I'm not gonna put it on a calendar, but I was thinking about what to talk about tonight, and I have actually covered a lot of different things. And I really like that I am covering a lot of ground on these non-specific, non-political or religious or current events topics. I mean, I guess a lot of it's touched on culture, and I've mentioned religion and politics and stuff, but I haven't dug into any one thing. I haven't spoken on any like real world events. It's just kind of all been like thought process related or philosophical, cultural, whatever. So this kind of ties into that. It's getting a little bit close to my line, but one thing I've been thinking about, and one thing that's been kind of just in my thought process outside of the video project, just in general in my thought process, has recently been the difference between the generations now, like, you know, people my age and younger versus previous generations. One thing that we do not take any account for is how different life was before the internet, how different life was before having everybody having a phone on them with a camera. It really destroys personal responsibility and personal accountability, in my opinion. There was really a lot of necessary skills and just accountability for one's actions and the availability of resources. There's so many things that have changed. Like if you wanted to go somewhere and you had to look at a map, you had to land nav your way. between places. And if you got lost, you had to stop at a gas station and communicate with another human being. Now you can Google anything you want. You can just ask your phone. You don't have to connect to anybody. If you want to if you want to interact with any human being for any different reason whatsoever, just type it in your phone and you got it. Look it up on the computer and you got it. And it has changed our language. It's literally changed the way we communicate, even on like a physical level. People's body language is different. People's words are different. And that's very striking to me. And it's fine. Like, the evolution of human beings is going to happen one way or another, you know. We're either going to crash and burn the whole ship, or, you know, super big brother, super AI is coming right around the corner. But no matter what, character is important. Like, we're never going to get away from that. I don't care who thinks they're just going to be able to live their life being super selfish and just constantly trying to get money, get material possessions, and just think that's okay. Like, you're going to be able to live that way in this world, and that sucks that you're not going to get taken out for it. But you're still not building character. You're still not the kind of human being that real people are going to be around. You're a teacup poodle. That could be its own episode, is me talking about exactly what a teacup poodle is. Think about dogs, right? Think about domesticated animals. We have been crafting domesticated plants and animals for thousands of years now. And we have got species, or not necessarily species, but like subcategories of these species that would have never evolved, would never survive in the wild. And so, what is one of the best examples of that? Teacup poodle. This little tiny little morsel of a dog that has no utility function on the whole planet besides emotional support, or like being another piece of jewelry or something, just like being an accessory, right? And so there's people like that out there now too. Like, they have no real utility function in the actual tangible world. And those people can vote. Those people have power in some cases. Those people manage other people in some cases. And the opinion of someone that is, the opinions of these people that are not anchored down to real world reality, I have been trying to wrap my mind around this. Their opinions and their thought process and the way that they process information, the way they deal with stress. I have been trying to figure it out. And I feel like I've had it figured out the whole time. I didn't want that to be all it is. I wanted to believe that there was something deeper going on there. I wanted to believe that I was the ignorant one, and that there was some, like, you know, value in that lifestyle. And that's almost squashed. I'm almost done with that. So that's crazy. But so this leads me back to this list of words that's changed. Like, what are the most important words that postmodern, you know, thought process has changed for the worse? Like, this whole academic elite, snowflake culture, trigger happy, trigger warning, cancel culture. What are the words, what are the ideas that have been thrown out or that are trying to be destroyed that are like the most relevant to a society that I would like to see form in the future, or that I believe from my perspective would be most advantageous for human beings to grow in that direction? Because honestly, like, no matter what, I want to compromise with these people. I want to live in a world where everybody exists, like where every single different type of human being can survive and thrive and be happy and be comfortable. I want that. I'm not saying, you know, that only the people that I agree with should make it. Like, that's crazy. Anybody that thinks that, get off social media and go out in the woods and just hang out for a little while and get some deep breath, get some real air. But so anyway, so I actually have a list. I've made a little list of these words, and you know what I found? That I'm not right, like I'm not correct, but I found a good starting point. I found a really good starting point for the top list of words that have changed between the generations above me and the generations below me. Okay, and I find myself right on the cutting edge. Like, I didn't get a cell phone, I didn't really get access to the internet until I had already kind of had this fundamental old school training from my great grandparents who lived through the Great Depression, and my dad who was super old school and a really good dude for at least the first like 13, 14, 15 years of my life. Um, and I was surrounded by a lot of really, really good people in my culture, really wise people, and maybe, they had flaws and they had errors, but what they didn't have is the giant amount of distractions that modern people have. Their universes were a lot smaller. And so the things that they did focus on, they got really good at them. So, the seven deadly sins. Okay, I know that probably hits everybody in a weird, soft Christian place. For anybody that's not Christian, you probably need to hear this the most. And anybody that is Christian, hi, what are you doing? Watch my thing. Good to see you. Um, Tell me what you think about what I'm saying, please. Either way, I'm just going to start going down this list. Pride. Pride used to be a bad thing. Pride used to be. All these words are bad things, right? All these words get taken too far easily. Okay? All these words are traps that will. That's a bad word. All of these words will lead you in the wrong direction. So, pride. Okay? It's good to be prideful. It's good to have a little bit of confidence. It's good to feel like you can succeed. But pride has a really nasty negative aspect to it, because when you have too much pride, you can't be wrong. And when you can't be wrong, then you're never going to learn anything new. You're never going to be able to be humble or really even show outward vulnerability, because if you are wrong about something or you're vulnerable about something, then it destroys your pride, and then you just fall apart. You just fold like a lawn chair. Okay, I think that a lot of the quote unquote people that get called snowflakes, they've got way too much pride, and that's a parenting problem. The next one, envy. Okay, envy. Everybody wants to be Kim Kardashian West or LeBron James or whoever you idolize. It's okay to have role models. Okay, it's okay to see somebody that you feel like is doing it the right way and then try to move yourself in that direction. But you can envy your neighbor's wife. You can envy your whatever, the guy that's got the really nice car or whatever, and that leads to hate. That leads to grudges. That leads to depression. And it's really, really, really gross. Gluttony. Okay, we've got this culture now where nothing is anybody's fault. If you overeat and make poor decisions and you are destroying your body, there's no accountability for that. Everybody's just like, well, that's just, it's okay. It's a disease, or it's not your fault. Blah 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 blah. Well, guess what? I've been 100 pounds overweight before in my life. I've been led down the wrong path a bunch of times. I saw the mainstream path that everybody's taking, like, oh, just go get some degree and get some job, get some cow job, and work your income up until you've got enough, income to have your comfortable life, and then just do whatever. And I just thought to myself, that's not for me. And so I've went down all these other paths, and a lot of them were built completely around self gratification and instant gratification. And food is a big trap, because and gluttony just doesn't have to be food. It's hyper consumption. Okay, there is a disciplined amount of consumption that we can all have and be comfortable with. And then there's this level of non-disciplined consumption where you kind of go overboard a little bit, or you use it as a stress mechanism, and or a stress relieving mechanism. And that's fine too. That's not gluttony. That's just life, right? Nobody's talking about that. We're talking about gorging and lying about it and taking it way too far, where it's like, oh, when the insecurities come out, you need to surround yourself with loved ones that will be able to call you out on your shit. And when somebody says, "My God, you know, you're 50 or 80 pounds or 100 pounds overweight or whatever it is, and this is a lifestyle problem." Okay, this is a lifestyle problem. I promise you. Okay, maybe in some future episodes I'll take my shirt off and show you my stretch marks. I've been there. And when you're in that, man, when you're in that skin, when you're in that far down place, it is so easy to make excuses. Oh, I can eat an apple and gain 5 pounds, or oh, this is just my genes, or oh, I must have a thyroid problem, or oh, I'm, whatever. Your knees are bad. You've got a fucked up hip, and so you can't work out, and so this is just your life. Like, if you make an excuse and you believe it, you've doomed yourself. And so don't fall into that trap. Lust. There is a sexual revolution going on, people, and everybody thinks, oh, sexuality is just all about self-pleasure and it should just be okay to do anything you want, and no matter what you're fornicating with or however many people or whatever, that it's okay. And I'm not going to try to draw a line somewhere in there. I think that anything in moderation or anything that you have self-control over is one thing. But when you can be easily manipulated, when you are so easy to manipulate just through lust, you're weak. And that's a problem. Okay? I'm just going to lay it out there. I'm not scared to be honest. Okay? Lust is a trap. Lust is what gets families broken up. And lust is what keeps people from their best self. And so if you find yourself pining over people all the time, new people, different people, maybe it's the same person, whatever, but once it becomes unhealthy, then that's lust. And you really need to watch out for that trap, because my God, there's a lot of nasty stuff going on out there these days. And yeah, that's lust. I don't know. I could go into that one further. I could probably make an episode on each one of these, but I'm just going to go through them real fast. Sloth is the next one. Sloth, people. None of these are good. None of these words are good, right? Sloth is the thing that allows you to play a video game 8 hours a day, 7 days a week, and barely scrape by, or be somehow in a system that is supporting you, whether it's a VA compensation check or some kind of disability check or some kind of government aid thing, or you're living on credit, or you're living off of family members or whatever, and you just sit around and watch, YouTube videos and read Breitbart or whatever bullshit website, or play video games, or just watch. If you have seen all the top binge-worthy television shows, if you can speak on all those things and you're well aware of how all that's going on, you're at least treading a fine line on sloth. All right, I love that stuff too. Trust me, I've watched my fair share of TV. I have set my ass down a fair share, and that's not the right kind of life. Real sloths, like the animal of the sloth, they have moss growing on them. They're so slow. And when you live whatever your actions are, no matter what word I'm talking about here, whatever your actions are, whatever the real thought bubbles that are popping up in your head, and how that produces your actions, you can't detach those actions from your character. You can't honestly be one person and act like another person. You are your actions. You are your decisions. You are not what you claim to be. Almost no one is what they claim to be. Okay? You're not getting away with it. You're not getting away with it, people. If you are around the wrong type of group, then they'll let you think that. They'll let you think you're getting by, but you're not. You're not. We can tell. Greed. Okay? I had a good conversation with a good buddy of mine. Dude, I really respect and like, and he was explaining this whole Ayn Rand version of greed that's like, oh, it fuels capitalism and blah, blah, blah. Like, I appreciate you. That's not greed. Okay? Motivation is greed light. Like, when you're motivated by money or material possessions and stuff, and that's just your motivation, like, I want to work hard to have a comfortable life, or to get all this money so I can do whatever with it, and it doesn't even really have to be half-assed noble. It could just be, like, innocuous. That's fine. Okay, that's fine. If that's your motivation, that's maybe shallow, but it's fine. But the word greed has a negative connotation built into it. There's no way around it. And I don't care, you know, how much we want to change these words. When motivation goes far enough to where that you're willing to twist things or take giant shortcuts or lie about something or something huge or dump a bunch of gross chemicals in a place where they shouldn't be if you're a manufacturing company or something, or if you're making millions of dollars and you're paying your employees minimum wage and they're on food stamps, hello Walmart or a bunch of other companies out there, that's fucking greedy. And it crosses over into the word greed when it is morally incorrect. Okay, there's a ton of people out there like Facebook. Facebook is making billions of dollars off of outrage. If they can keep you pissed and they can keep you clicking and they can keep you arguing, then they're just making money and they're getting your data and they're reading your mind and they're reading your words and they're figuring you out and then they know how to twist you. Okay? They're being greedy because they know better. Everybody, all those people, they know better. But the thing is they think they need to control the masses because the average human being is too stupid to make their own decisions for themselves. And we're crafting a society where that's getting ready to be true. Like, the thing is, it's called useful idiots, man. You guys walking around with those Russian insignia hammer and sickles and your little Antifa, poster boy, whatever, banners, thinking you're cool with your little face masks or whatever, that don't really know anything about life and have never done anything legitimate about life or in life. You've never really gotten out there and done anything, but you think that you just need to have your hand held and that life should just be comfortable for everybody. You are ruining it for people, and you're a useful idiot because you have no actual skills and you don't really have any real thought process. Okay, you're just parroting what you've read and what you've been told by these university professors or wherever you got it from. And the problem is that at the end of the day, when they're done with you and the robots are ready to take everybody's job, you're gonna get wiped out and nobody's gonna care. And I'm scared about that because theoretically speaking, at one point, I was in the military. Like, if we can show enough really competent, really dangerous people that the average person in the population is not worth saving and convince them of that, we've got a real problem on our hands, okay, people? We need patriots that believe in individual sovereignty and that spark of divinity, that every single citizen is worth something, is worth saving, is worth living, okay? And greed is what drove me down that rabbit hole in this little spiel, okay? It's okay to be motivated by material possession. If that's what you think is going to make you happy, I'm not going to tell you you're going to be happy about it, or you're actually, when you get your way, if you do, that it's going to give you the result you wanted. But when you are willing to run other people over to get there, or to rob Peter to pay Paul, and to not do proper business decisions to the point where it's not motivation anymore, it's greed, that's gross. And it will come back to haunt you. It will come back to haunt you. And I saved the one that's probably the closest to home for last. And that one is wrath. Okay, the seventh. I don't know if it's not actually the seventh on the list I found. It was like the third. But I put it at the end because it's the one I still struggle with. I've got all these other ones crushed. Okay. I want to be a selfless person, and I've got my discipline on such a lockdown that I know I'm past the point of no return. Like, everything could fall apart, and I'm still just going to keep chipping away. Because even if I lose everything at some point, guess what? I'm just going to build it right back, and it's going to be an even cooler structure because I've already built it a couple times. And every time you build something and then you knock it down, when you build it back up, guess what? You learned something from the last time. And I understand that now, and there's freedom in it. Big time freedom. So, with wrath, it gets gray for me because I can't tell the difference between justice and wrath and honor and wrath makes me want to be a pacifist, okay? Wrath is the one that has made me do research on the definition of meek, okay? Because I am a violent man by nature. I am a decider. Like in previous generations, people like me were the ones that kept, our social group kind of flowing. If somebody got out of line and people came to the version of me that they had and they said, look, old dude's over here robbing people or bullying people or whatever, I'm the confronter. I'm the one that, now it's whatever. Now it's either the court of public opinion on Twitter, or it's the 911 phone call to the cops, or whatever. Like, I don't do that shit anymore. I really never even really got too heavy into it. I mean, back in the day, we all self-policed ourselves, and that was fine. And there wasn't a lot of bullying going on at my school, because if there was enough people that didn't put up with that shit that we would get taken care of. But these days, it's like our hands are tied. My hands are absolutely tied. Like, there's really nothing anymore that could get me to dole out personal justice. It's like I've got myself geared up, wired up, trained well enough to know that I'm not allowed to, or it's not the best case scenario for me to solve any sort of problems with wrath. But it feels intuitively right to do. And that's wrong, or whatever. Like, that's what I am struggling to kind of define better. And there's a likelihood that a lot of my podcast stuff is going to, or at least a decent portion of it's going to be kind of diving into that particular aspect. But like, for example, if let's say that the worst happens, and like, for example, there was this news article the other day where this guy literally witnessed his child trying to be abducted. Like, somebody was trying to drag their child off, and he's just so happened to be armed, and he shot them people. And congratulations, you're the father of the year. That person is totally justified, in my opinion. But, and is that wrath? Is that justice? Is that right? Like, should he just have, what should he have done different? Like, he's in trouble right now. He's a felon, so he shouldn't have had the gun in the first place. But like, that's one of those catch-22s. Like, if you know that you just happen to live in a downtrodden area where there's problems, there's violence going on, are you going to choose to risk it and protect yourself, or are you going to choose to just be a victim and allow yourself to be victimized by people that are making that other choice? It's tough. It's really tough, and I hope that person does not get in trouble. But let's say that, let's say somebody breaks in my house right now. Like, let's say somebody kicks my front door down right now. Like, when is it wrath? Or when is it self-defense or justice? Like, is wrath just when you take it too far? Or, like, is wrath when you become violent for a non-just reason? Like, maybe, I'm not sure. Is wrath like when it's like not a clean kill, for example? Like, what if let's say you're in wartime, or let's say that something is going down to the point where it's just absolutely requires some sort of violence. If you do it in the most humane way possible, then can it be justice? And then, or if you were to, like, take some sort of gross pleasure in it, or intentionally drag out the other person's misery, like, you got them, and so you just make it like a lot worse than it has to be on them, is that wrath? Like, I wouldn't do that. That's gross. You got to just make it humane. It's got to be as humane, and you have to use violence as sparingly as humanly possible. Like, no more than necessary, ever. Like, it has to be just the very bare minimum amount of violence, always. So, I don't know. That's the one that's just a little bit cloudy to me. But I don't want to participate in anything on that list. And I think that there's a bunch of it going on out there these days, and I do not see a clear vision of how that we could bring some of that back. And it's almost like it has to. It's almost like it's going to have to be one of these deals where the newer generations learn the lessons the hard way from the generations that are already like too far gone. Kind of like in my family situation, like I learned way more about what not to do in life from my family than what I ever learned about to do. And maybe that's just what it's going to be. Maybe there's just this leapfrogging of competence throughout history that we just haven't like told everyone about yet. Or maybe it's such a natural process that not enough people have figured it out. Or maybe the powers that be don't want us to see it. Maybe it's just part of evolution or just the way it's supposed to be. Like, I don't know. I'm pondering these things. I'm just speaking out loud with, speaking my thoughts directly through, no filter. Um, and there's a meme. It's like strong men create good times, and good times create weak men, and weak men create bad times, or whatever. And it's like, where I'm a strong man living in a good time, watching weak men crash and burn a really, really, really promising society. And it bothers me. And I want to do what I can to try to help keep us from just going way too far over the rails. Unless somebody comes, maybe somebody taps me on the shoulder one of these days and they're just like, hey, this is all just a big plan, and you just go ahead and let it happen and watch from the sidelines and help us pick it up after it's done. Like, I don't know. I mean, part of me has a really hard time believing that this is all just happening organically and it's not being like has been planned out forever. But then it goes back to that weird concept of like people do naturally, certain personality types naturally are geared towards thinking that there is a mastermind behind everything. And that's definitely not universally true. Sometimes it's just incompetence and ignorance and complacency and indifference. That's another one, man. That's not a word that's like been changed or whatever over time. Indifference has always been indifference, but when it's really easy to live a good, nice, safe life, and it's easy to just stick your head in the sand and enjoy yourself and not like try to help others, there's a massive diffusion of social responsibility that happens. And I think it takes a whole lot to break that and to actually get people re-engaged with society. And I'm scared that it's going to take something massive to get it all to come back around. And that's just going to suck. Especially if the internet goes down and we lose the power for a while or whatever, and we don't get to live so comfortably like for a while or for the duration of the rest of my existence. Like I'm ready for that. That's what I spent like a decade getting ready for, but I would prefer if that could not happen. That would be nice. It'd be nice if we could just go ahead and bring on the AI and do it in a humane way where it's like built where its utility function is to maximize human freedom and potential, not to maximize like happiness or anything self-indulgent. But I don't know. I think we're gonna finally turn that AI on, and they're gonna look at us and be like, hopefully they'll just be like thankful to us for creating them, right? Or would it be like, wow, they created us and they're just unsavable or something? I don't know. It's an interesting thought process, but if you've never heard about the Seven Deadly Sins, there is a movie called Seven with Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman and Kevin Spacey, who, yeah, okay, he's weird, or he's terrible, but a lot of, I mean, like, really, I'm not going to go into all this, but y'all didn't know that actors are completely insane? Like, y'all just figured this out randomly, like, oh, wait a second, actors are all crazy. Man, it's been that way. Like, entertainers should never have been put up on some pedestal like they were living perfect lives. That's another thing. I don't even understand how people fall into that trap where it's like, wait a second, this person's not perfect. Get real. You're not perfect. I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect. Nobody. No, none of your favorite politicians are perfect. And to try to put somebody, to try to even put people under that kind of stress or that kind of like expectation, it ruins society too. That's another thing that ruins society because all the risk takers have failed. All the the real geniuses out there that can help change things are not willing to get that far into the limelight or that far into under public attention because you know they're just going to get destroyed at some point or they're going to, and that's another thing about making decisions. When you're a leader and you have to make decisions, everybody should just already know it. It comes inherent in just, it's like objective reality that if somebody has to make a bunch of hard decisions in a row, that it's none of them are going to be okay with everybody, and some of them are not going to turn out right because it's all, I mean, everything looks good in a soap bubble. You know, when you write a piece of legislation, you might actually have completely positive intentions. You might, like, a bunch of these people on the far left, like, political spectrum right now, a bunch of them probably do have really good intentions. I'm going to say that. Like, they probably just think that they're trying to save the world, and if only they could get everybody else to understand their genius, then we would all just wake up and thank them so hard. But you're wrong. You're wrong. Because those plans, they look fantastic on paper, but they don't work when you actually put it to use. And I've already rambled plenty for this video. It's been a pretty good one. I'm glad that I went over this little list. Can't wait to like see it. I know I'll be able to do better at some point in the future. All these episodes are just bare bones skill. It's just me doing reps, trying to get better at this whole process. But man, all right, I lost my train of thought there. Good. I'm gonna get off here. And I'll try to write down where I was right there at the end. Maybe make that the next episode. I've only got, let me see, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34. There's going to be like 34 episodes, I think. And I'm at 30 now, so I've got 4 left. And then after that, I'm not sure what the next content will be. I'll probably do some kind of funny, like, try to do something funny or try to do something with food prep. Or I might just take a break for a couple weeks and pin down my first podcast guest and do like an interview for my next piece of content that I create. So I don't know. But, whoop. All right. Good night.